Café Anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Look at that. It's FF episode 2711. 2711. And Mike Matthews.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Welcome to the show that's not called Feast, because that was the name of the last show, and I'm going to come up with a different name for you because, you know, I come up with clever things sometimes, and other times I don't. At least I wasn't at Circle K today getting a dough. Well, actually, no, they were giving away like 50%.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
50% off car washes and up to 40 cents per gallon. What?
Mike's
Daily 40 cents per gallon?
Podcast.
Oh, 40 cents off per gallon.
Yeah.
Oh, well, just don't get gas in San Francisco. Gosh, everybody, when they talk about, oh, gas is so expensive in California. Look, the price you pay for gas in San Francisco is $800 a gallon. Well, of course, it's San Francisco. If you're in the middle of the city or in the middle of LA, or in the middle of New York, you're going to be paying way more gas than us country folk out here in the middle of nowhere. We just grow okra. Okra's great. Only time I use okra is when it's been fried. Actually, okra in what's that soup that they put it in? That's delicious. They don't fry it in that particular case. But yes, that's what I'm telling you now as I'm speaking to you, is that I love okra. But here's the thing. It's Thanksgiving. The average American spends over 9 hours prepping a Thanksgiving meal from scratch. If you want to take a break from all the shopping, prepping, and cooking, that's fine. Consumers expect to spend an average of $391 to host Thanksgiving.
And here's today's podcast picture.
That's actually down 18% from 2020, from COVID year, from the year we were like not even leaving the house. So, wow. The podcast picture is going to be another fabulous picture from my wonderful trip where I spoke to that interesting bakery lady that I told you about in the last podcast. That was really funny. And where we saw the beautiful, maybe we'll do one of the large redwoods from that Armstrong forest there near Guerneville. We'll see what it is by going to the wonderful website that I pay for, mikesdailypodcast.com. And the late great Basil the Boxer is also featured on that wonderful website. You can see him in all his glory. Yes, we had some fun times together. We never went to Guerneville, though. Never did. I don't know if he would have cared either way, but yes, there are a lot of cool dogs, though, all along there. The Russian River, Bodega Bay, the coastline. All kinds of dogs having fun and running around. Except they can't in Bodega Bay. They have to be on a leash because that's how they roll over there. Because we don't want people to get bit. So, millennials hosting a Thanksgiving dinner are expected to pay the most, $461. And this is why, I'm guessing, this is why they're going to get a free-range turkey. Back in their 90s, yours truly was dating a redhead who was a full-on vegetarian. And she said to me, "Oh, I'd love to have Thanksgiving dinner at our house, at our little apartment. Why don't we get a free-range turkey from Mrs. Gooch's?"
Cutting corners, corner.
The cutting corners, corner. I think that seems correct to me in the back of my 55-year-old brain. Because I'm 55 now. Thank you for all the birthday wishes. Thank you for all of them. The countless number, the zero number. I don't think anybody even wishes me a happy birthday on Facebook anymore. I used to actually, this is how completely low my life was at one point. After I got divorced after I'd been abandoned, after wham. And I was doing this podcast all through it. Mike's Daily Podcast, Survived the Divorce. So you can go back and listen to those years, about 10 years back. Wow. Those were some interesting years. So even through those years where I wasn't being invited to Thanksgiving anywhere, where I just stayed at home, right, with the late great Basil the Boxer, and he was my bud, my friend, and we went for a walk because, hey, nobody's on the roads on Thanksgiving. So you enjoy it. Have the best times. But yes, back though, way before Basil in the 90s.
Mike's Matthewsman Park.
The front panel will close automatically. Please remain seated at all times.
Oh, but the turkey had to have it was free range. It got to live its life. Do I really know that for sure? I didn't see any pictures of the turkey when he was alive. And if I did, I wouldn't have eaten him because I would have felt bad. Baby boomers are expected to spend the least. You want to know why? Because they're smart. Because they've been through this a couple times. $232 on average. Some restaurants and grocery stores sell mostly pre-cooked meals that include all the classic fixins. So think about that. You're spending all that money at a restaurant and it's pre-cooked. I have eaten out on Thanksgiving more times than I'm really happy with. Oh, and I never really enjoyed it. I did it. It was nice, convenient. But at the same time, just like, I cheated. And I remember, Marie Callender's, remember them? I don't think they're around anymore. I think I had turkey there, Thanksgiving a couple times there. But then Popeyes has got their Cajun-style turkey. Turkey which can be delivered to the door. That's going to be $100. And Whole Paycheck, Whole Foods, they have the organic option, which probably dates back to the Mrs. Gooch's days. It costs $540 as we go outside of Café Anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast, somewhere in Podcastro Alley.
Anyway.
The last place on earth. I didn't say that the last show. Oops. But it feeds 12 people. It's called the Thanksgiving Extravaganza. And Trader Joe's offers pre-cooked brined. Ooh, that's good. I like me a brine turkey. Seasoned. Oh, but it's just a half turkey breast. And it's vacuum sealed. It costs $8 a pound. So expect to pay at least $30 at least.
The Daily Haley. The almost Daily Haley.
And if you have Blue Apron or HelloFresh, their meal kit services is offering a host of holiday dinner boxes to its customers. They are priced around $132. That all from Rob Black. He does a show about money. I produce his podcast, The Rob Black Show. He's also on the radio in the Bay Area on AM 1220 KDOW. And he is also on TV on Kron in the morning. The other thing is, though, that's good about this time of year, this time around, is that...
And now we return you to our regularly scheduled program with Mike Matthews.
Not so bad. AAA predicting that 54 million Americans are traveling at least 50 miles between my birthday and Sunday. My birthday is the 22nd. There's good news for Americans who plan to hit the roads this Thanksgiving, rather. Gas prices are falling nationwide. Even here in California, the national average for a gallon of gas, unleaded gasoline, dropped to $3.35, the lowest since February. And that's awesome that it happens around a big holiday, but at the same time, it means people are going to be driving and the roads are going to be clogged. However, I was told today would be a big travel day. And on my way home, it wasn't that bad, though I did drive home pretty late. California, where prices are among the highest in the country, a gallon of unleaded has fallen to almost a little under $5 per gallon. It was $5.64 a month ago. Texas, it costs $2.80. Mississippi, $2.84. Hawaii's got $4.73.
Mike's out of left field recordings.
Recording everything captures actions that will never again be repeated. Magnification.
Target had some really good earnings. Their earnings clobbered estimates, so their stock surged about 15%. Retail sales fell less than forecast in October, so U.S. consumers defied expectations again. So they're not doing so well, it looks like, retail sales at the moment.
Ginormous.
And Uber is testing a service that lets users hire people for small tasks, like doing laundry for them or lawn mowing. Interesting. It's called Task Uber, is what it says here. That's almost like Airbnb. Like you pay for a service, like a weird experience, and you pay for it. Well, I wanted to mention something else. And that is, so I've been doing the radio thing for 35 plus years. And early on in my career in radio, somebody told me, you shouldn't get into radio. In fact, a couple people did. One guy ended up being a jerk. Another guy, I came back to him years later because we were still working in radio, but at different places. And he said, no, Mike, what I meant was you sound great on the radio, but I just didn't think it was a good idea for you to get into radio because it is such a tough life. You don't get paid much. You work weird hours. On the rare occasion, you break it into the big time and you make buku bucks, but that's very seldom. But there was a guy. Oh, and then my mom was dating this weirdo, and he's like, well, you don't sound like Orson Welles. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm not freaking Orson Welles.
The word of dog.
Oh my gosh. So my dad knew Orson Welles. My dad was working, he was an extra in the movie business. Back in the day when extras, it really wasn't a thing. People didn't know what that was yet. Extras, those are the people when you're watching a TV show, they're the random people that are walking around in the background to make it more realistic. That, oh, hey, they're really outside amongst people.
We love you, Mike.
And for some reason, Orson liked my dad. And he was filming Lady Macbeth, the Macbeth movie that has Lady Macbeth in it. That Shakespeare thing. And there's a scene where Orson is trying to convey, he wanted a what they call a superior shot, where, or is it the inferior shot? Probably it's the inferior shot because it makes you feel inferior. Is it that it makes the audience feel inferior? I don't know. I never went to film school. But it has something to do with where you put the camera angle below your actor's face. So the character, if you shoot him from below, he looks like menacing and big and huge, like Jaws. Think of in James Bond, not the shark, but the James Bond character Jaws. He was a tall man, that actor, and they always had to film him from below because it made him look menacing. If you want to look like, oh no, this character is in trouble, and to intensify the insecurity that you're feeling for this character, that, oh no, something bad's going to happen to them, like they're being chased or whatever by a crazy person, you film them rather, from above. They say shoot, but you're not actually shooting them with a gun, you're shooting with the camera. And you film them from above. And it gives you that inferiority complex. So they wanted Macbeth to look huge, bigger than life. So Orson is filming him from a lower shot, from an up shot. Is that probably what they call that? So he's telling, they're on a soundstage, and he's telling the crew to dig a hole in the ground so that he can put the camera in there so he could film up. He wanted a particular shot. Orson was very interesting. Look into his history. He did some crazy stuff.
You will travel into the incredible universe.
So my dad is on the set, and he walked away for a minute to get a cup of coffee, and Orson's assistant comes up and says, Paul, where are you going? And my dad goes, what? I'm wanting something to drink. He said, don't ever leave Mr. Wells. And he brings him over to Orson, and Orson says, Paul, don't ever leave me. And he grabs him by the arm, and he's basically telling all these director shots what he wants done. He wants this hole dug up and everything. He's shouting out orders, directions, because he's the director. He's directing everybody while holding my dad's arm, like right just below the shoulder, just grabbing him there by the bicep. My dad used to tell these stories by physically doing it to me. He's like grabbing my shoulder. I'm like, ow, Dad. And my dad was slightly taller than me. So I don't know if that was an actual true story. It was a story my dad told. And because I am his son, I am obligated to believe it was the gospel truth.
A fine article.
Silly, great, fat article. Woo!
The story popped into my mind that my dad said one time Alfred Hitchcock came up to him. In this movie, I don't know what it was. It might have even been Psycho. I'm not sure. But Alfred walked up to my dad and said something to him, wanted to direct him. Hey, I need you to do this, whatever. But, you know, Alfred Hitchcock had that British accent. He talked really slow. And my dad still could not understand a word he said. So he just stared at Alfred Hitchcock blankly. And he asked, can you repeat what excuse me? What did you just say? And Alfred Hitchcock just, no, I do not repeat myself to anyone. And he walked away, stormed off in a huff. And Alfred Hitchcock's assistant looked at my dad and said, what did you just say to Mr. Hitchcock? What did you just say? I just said, what? No, you never say what to Alfred Hitchcock. So that was the interesting Alfred Hitchcock story that I heard from my dad.
Magnification.
But my point is, we all have different ways of talking, of communicating. I look at my voice as a tool that my brain uses, because my brain has got a bunch of stuff in it that it needs to get out. And I am not someone who can use my hands as tools, a la writers. Writing, I cannot do that as well as I can think and then talk most of the time. I'm not stumbling all of myself. And this is why I like to podcast. And this is why I've been doing Mike's Daily Podcast for 2,711 podcasts. So be happy. Use the tool that God gave you. Use it. Now, I heard somebody say today, and I took umbrage with it after he said it. I didn't think about it till later. He was telling me, yeah, you know, there's a expert I read that told me years ago when I got into radio 40 odd years ago that, you know, you need to use, you don't want to use your diaphragm all the time like opera singers do and all that. When you're talking on the radio, when you're voicing a commercial, when you're doing all of that, you want to use the mask that you have, the mask being your nose and your mouth and the throat and this whole part of your face, your head, basically. You got to use that in such a way in order to resonate and to sound fantastic. And I thought in my head, well, okay, that sounds like old style Orson Welles type voiceover. But have you listened to people nowadays on the radio? Since the 90s, there has been a movement to be more and more real. You watch a podcast, you listen to it, or you listen to a podcast. You don't ever watch a podcast. You listen to a podcast. You watch a video done of the podcast, but you don't watch a podcast. You listen to it. And you hear people, and on NPR and all your other talk radio news outlets, you often hear people sound just more real, more natural. And that's to the human ear, to the human brain today. People younger than me, younger than this guy, that sounds right. That sounds natural. I can relate to that. But to sound resonant and like the old style.
The Marco Minute. The Marco Minute.
That's not the thing anymore. Stop living in the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, the 50s. Stop it. The 40s. This
hey kids,
is RKO Radio.
It's me.
NBC Radio. Bringing you this update. Now.
Don't read me the clown.
And I said all of that just to say that it kind of sounded really... I didn't bring that point up to him, and I should have. I should have said, hey, people are talking more natural these days. And they have actually for a while. So this resonant voice like you are on the BBC in 1946 is not important anymore. So don't try and sound like that. He did say something that I agreed with. Sound like you. What is it that you sound like? He said, and then once you figure that out, maybe you shouldn't be in radio. And then I said, well, have you looked at radio these days? Everybody that's in radio, they didn't sign up for radio to begin with. They signed up for something else, like to be on TV, to be on YouTube, to be famous elsewhere before they got on radio. That is just how I see things these days, folks. It's an interesting world where the podcasters become radio hosts, where radio just becomes the factory for what is put into podcasts. And what's going on with TikTok? What's happening even there, where people are even being more real and natural and saying things that maybe they shouldn't say on TikTok because it will haunt them forever. But then someone told me, do you really think someone's going to dig up something somebody said on TikTok years ago? Do people really care what people said? Well, you don't know. It may be so outlandish and so just completely outdated as you look at some movies that quote unquote didn't age well, or TV shows that didn't age well. Maybe something that you say that's out there forever on the internet.
The Fascinating Material Project.
The FM Project.
Or maybe not. Maybe you'll just be in obscurity like I am over here in the obscure world where it's all obscure and stuff. Look who's here. Hello, my commercial. It's Madame Rootabega. All of that was very interesting. Oh, did you date Orson Welles? Yes. Did you date Alfred Hitchcock? Yes. Did you date? No. Couldn't come up with a question. Look who else is here. See, it's a tool for my brain that doesn't always work. Look who else is here.
Hello there, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant.
And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know it?
Mike, didn't you once know the guy there that did the Tony the Tiger voice? And didn't he like the way that I sounded back in the day on the Santa Fe Cafe day?
Yeah, Santa Fe Cafe. Do you know that? That's right. The late, great Lee Marshall, who replaced Thurl Ravenscroft for the voice of Tony the Tiger. So, yes. Do you know who the Grinch?
Your mean one, Mr. Grinch.
That guy. Okay. Lee Marshall replaced him after he passed. And as the voice of Tony Tiger. They're great. So Lee had this beautiful, deep bass voice, right? And I'm not going to say what people say about guys like that in radio. That guy's got real... No, I'm not going to say it. It just had a real deep voice. He said to me, Lee Marshall, you know what, Mike? You got a great voice. And I love the characters you do. And I love the characters you make up. Because I used to have a boss that liked it when I did impressions of Homer Simpson, Marge Simpson, Sean Connery on the radio. He said, oh, people are going to love that. They're going to think that, they're going to tune into you. And Lee said to me, Mike, make up your own characters because those are the characters that are going to get you a job someday. And he went nuts, like Chely Shoehart. He thought was so awesome. And then he would he would actually have us. He would grab, because he did a lot of commercials. He made a lot of money in radio and TV, voiceover stuff. And he'd get the scripts and bring them to us and then have us read them in front of a microphone. And then he would tell us what we were doing wrong. It was like probably we were getting these, like one lesson would probably be worth thousands of dollars from the information he was giving us. So he was a great guy. We all miss him so much. All of us that worked with him. He was just so nice and kind to so many people. I got on a tangent there, Lee. But there you go. Still doing the voices that he enjoyed years ago. So, hey, give me a birthday wish. Why don't you? Come on. Don't be such a shy person. Don't be such a kaja-goo-goo. Give me a call. Here's the number to call me.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228-4640.
And with more ways to reach me. And if you want to send me your leftovers, that'd be great too. Okay, I won't give you an address. Just send it to the Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley. No, but the email address and other stuff, why, here's A-Frame with that stuff. Happy Thanksgiving weekend.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com.
Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com.
See you tomorrow. Bye.